Hello everyone. My name is Pran and I will be your MC for today. I would like to welcome everyone to the International Renewable Energy Asia Conference 2021 or REA Asia Conference. This year, the conference is coming with the theme Clean Energy Transitions for Post-COVID Resilience in ASEAN. You are now watching a session number 2, which will be discussed about the future energy systems. These sessions features the informations of power systems, smart grid, demand side management, energy efficiency and management, the energy storage system, and other energy and renewable energy technologies, including power trade and enabling policies. Before we start, I would like to inform you about the platform. First, all microphone and video of attendees is disabled for the whole session. If you wish to ask any questions to our speakers, please leave your questions at the Q&A box at the bottom right corner. Second, in case of a technical issue, or you hope to contact our staff, please send your request to the Help tab at the same location. At last, after the session ends, please give us some feedback by completing the survey at the survey icon on the screen. Without any further delay, I would like to introduce the moderator of this session. So these sessions will be conducted
ณั
by
ฐนันท์
two
ดิลกสัมพันธ์
moderators.
นะครับก็
The first
ปั
one
จจุบัน
is
ดำรงตำแหน่ง
Mr.
เป็น
Peter
Sales Manager
Lundberg.
ของ Firmer
He
Thailand
is the
นะ
head
ครับ
of operations at Asia Pacific Urban Energy Association or
ก่อนอื่นเลยนะครับ
APUEA. And the
ทุก
second
ท่าน
one
อาจ
is
จะยังไม่
Dr.
ค่อยคุ้น
Atikom
หูกับ
Bangviwat
แบรนด์ Firmer
from
มา
the
กนัก
Joint
นะค
Graduate
รับ
School of
ผ
Energy
ม
and
ก็เลยจะขอ
Environment
อนุญาตแนะ
or
นำตัว
JGC
แบรนด์
King
Firmer ของเรา
Mongkut's
ก่อนนะครับ
University
ซึ่
of
ง
Technology
แบรนด์
Thonburi.
Firmer ของเราเนี่ย
May I
จะ
now
เป็น
pass
แบ
the
รนด์
floor
จาก
to
อิ
the
ตาลีนะครับ
moderator.
ปัจจุบัน
Thank
แช
you.
ร์แมนของเรานะครับก็คือคุณฟิลิปโปคาซานิก้านะครับ
Hello
เป็นชาวอิตาลี
and welcome and thank you
ครับซึ่งบริษัท Firmer นะครับเริ่ม
for
ทำ
attending session 2 during the 17th Renewable Energy Asia International Conference with the theme Clean Energy Transition for Post-COVID Resilience in ASEAN. And welcome to the second session of the afternoon parallel session with the theme Future Energy Systems. My name is Peter Lundberg and I'm the head of operations at the Asia Pacific Urban Energy Association, who is a co-organizer of this session together with the Joint Graduate School of the Energy and the Environment and Informal Markets. We're here today to discuss the topic Future Energy Systems, and today we have 6 speakers that represent 6 different sides of energy systems that will play an increasing role both starting from today to into the future. So the topics included into the session today are cross-border electricity exchange in ASEAN, the importance of energy efficiency, the potential of green hydrogen, the potential of district cooling in Thailand, an ASEAN energy outlook, and the importance of PV safety. I will now hand over to my session colleague that will moderate the first part of the session, Dr. Atikom. The floor is yours.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Atikom Bangviwat, a member of Energy and Environmental Policy Laboratory, the Joint Graduate School of Energy and Environment, King Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi. And I will be assistant to Peter in introducing all the speakers throughout the session. And then at the end, Peter will be back to carry out the session of Q&A. For the first speaker, I would like to present to you Mr. Kaisuke Ueda. Kaisuke Ueda obtained his bachelor degree in engineering, Department of Electrical Engineering and Bioscience, School of Science and Engineering, Waseda University, Japan, in 2008, and a master degree of Electrical Engineering, Department of Electrical Engineering, Graduate School of Engineering, Waseda University as well, in 2010. After graduation, he started working for Tokyo Electric Power Company, or we all know as TEPCO. the biggest electric utilities in Japan and engage power system operation and analysis, planning for voltage control operation. After 2015, he had been engaged the overseas consulting services to South Asia and Southeast Asia countries. For 4 years, he has been dispatched to Economic Research Institute of ASEAN and East Asia, or REA, from TEPCO. Since 2019, using his expertise, he has been conducted the research on power sector in ASEAN. And today, Mr. Ueda gonna give us a presentation on cross-border electricity exchange in ASEAN. Please, Mr. Ueda.
Yeah, okay. So thank you for introduction, Dr. Atikon. Sawadee krap. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to present in this conference. So please wait. Okay, so can you see? So I am Keisuke Ueda, Senior Policy Advisor of Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia. Today, I will briefly talk to you about cross-border electricity exchange in ASEAN. So before my presentation, let me introduce myself briefly. So now I have been working in REA since 2019 and dispatched from, as Dr. Atikon already introduced, I dispatched from my original company, Tokyo Electric Power Company, Power Grid Japan. Then my background is in the field of power system operation and power system analysis. So now I am in charge of power sector studies in ASEAN. Firstly, I talk about existing efforts of power exchange in ASEAN. ASEAN member states has a long-standing goals of integrating their power systems via common ASEAN power grid concept. To date, there are some existing efforts to establish multilateral power trade, such as ASEAN Power Grid, GMS ARCMEX, ESA, then Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore power integrated project. Development of the ASEAN Power Grid so far has progressed only on a bilateral basis between neighboring countries. However, power trade has been expected to move from bilateral interconnections to sub-regional power systems, and then finally to a fully integrated power system. Because power trade cannot occur without sufficient supportive infrastructure, development of the ASEAN power grid is critical for establishment of full multilateral power trade. One of the recent efforts is the LTMS-TIP. This is a pilot project of multilateral power trade in ASEAN. As a pilot project, the focus is primarily on identifying and resolving the issues that could affect cross-border power trade amongst the ASEAN member states more broadly. LTMS-PIP started in January 2018. In the initial stage, power has been transferred from Laos to Malaysia via Thailand. Some key elements, such as wheeling charge methodology and then underlying process for developing the LTMS-PIP are very relevant to the broader goals of the ASEAN power grid. Then the arrangement between EDL Laos and Keppel Electric Singapore was signed last month. Under this agreement, Singapore will purchase 100 megawatts of electricity from Laos using existing cross-border interconnections. In this way, ASEAN has already begun efforts for multilateral power trade. In addition, studies on cross-border power exchange has been implemented by many organizations. We area have also implemented some studies in this field. Today, I will talk to introduce our recent studies. AREA implemented the feasibility study on transmission highway in ACMEX with support of Ministry of Energy Thailand. Members of this study were governmental organizations and electric utilities in Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. The objective of this study was to carry out cost-benefit analysis by utilizing high-voltage cross-border interconnections for power trade. Energy resources are very variety in ACMEX. Huge hydro potential in Laos and Myanmar, large gas potential in Myanmar, and coal potential in Vietnam. But the abundant resources, especially hydropower, is underutilized because ACMEX countries currently have no existing bulk transmission network, which cover the entire area of ACMEX. Some cross-border interconnections already exist. However, most of them are used as dedicated transmission lines for power purchase agreement or low voltage transmission lines. There is no 500 kV cross-border interconnection for power trade mutually. So the study focused on utilizing the hydropower and wind power in Laos through cross-border interconnections for cost-benefit analysis. The study proposed 6 cross-border interconnections and 3 domestic transmission lines between Laos and Thailand, Thailand and Myanmar, Thailand and Cambodia, and Laos and Vietnam routes. To exchange a large amount of power, we assumed that candidate transmission lines, except for number 3, were 500 kV transmission lines. Then we estimated the construction cost and the benefit using candidate cross-border interconnections. Although power demand in Laos is small, Laos has a very large hydro potential during the rainy season. In addition, 600 megawatts of wind farm has been constructed in the south. The expected benefits from power trade are fuel cost reduction of thermal power plants in Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Reduction in new investment of thermal power plants and CO2 emission reduction and wheeling charge utilizing candidate transmission lines, and then improvement of electricity access in Myanmar and Cambodia. So because of time constraints of today's session, I will skip the result in detail. And then from the result of construction cost and the expected benefits, we analyze the financial IRR, economic IRR, and then net present value of candidate cross-border interconnections. We use these assumptions for financial IRR and EIR calculations. From these assumptions, the FIRR is 15.9%. Then NPV and the payback period are like this. EIR was 13.9%, and the NPV and the payback period are like this table. According to Asian Development Bank, the general criterion for accepting a project is achieving the minimum required EIR. ADB adopted 9% to the minimum required EIR. Therefore, this result is higher than ADB's minimum required EIR. From this feasibility study, we can expect that cross-border interconnections may bring great benefits to ACMEX countries. Then next projects are studying on the formation of the ASEAN Power Grid Generation and Transmission System Planning Institution called ASETP and ASEAN Power Grid Transmission System Operator Institution called ASEW. REA implemented these projects in collaboration with the heads of ASEAN Power Utilities and Authorities, HAPUA. This project is one of action plans of ASEAN Plan of Action Energy, APEC Phase 1. ASETP and ATSO studies aim to provide technical and advisory services to HAPUA on the criteria, structures, roles, and requirements towards the formation of two institutions necessary to advance the ASEAN power grid. HAPUA reported the key findings of these studies to the ASEAN Ministers of Energy meeting as an implementation measure of APEC Phase 1, as well as to the Secretariat. It monitors and facilitates implementation of measures. Before the start of ASETP and ATSO projects, REA conducted pre-study survey and identified theoretical key elements of the ASEAN integrated electricity market design. Furthermore, based on the survey result, we proposed two phases approach for ASEAN to gradually move from bilateral power trade to multilateral power trade, and eventually regionally integrated organized market. In phase 1, the following is considered to necessary building blocks: enable open access, sharing data and information, coordinate the allocation of available cross-border transmission capacity, compensation mechanism for access to cross-border transmission capacity. Then for phase 2, the following should be developed to establish a fully integrated regional electricity market, harmonization of technicalities, standards, and principles, mandate a minimal interconnection level, gradual shift to nodal zonal pricing, organize day-ahead and intraday markets, then develop balancing service and financial markets. Based on that, to move for this status, we surely understand that new institution is necessary as coordination body among ASEAN member states. These are key points from ASETP and ATSO studies. First, the primary role of the APG institution will be to act as a coordinating body between the ASEAN member states and the transmission system operators. Second, institution is expected to be a key institution to enable multilateral power trade among ASEAN countries while maintaining the balance, stability, and reliability. Third, institution has a role of coordinating of the ASEAN power grid system planning and grid developments. Fourth, institution will take on important information sharing role for the region. Also, it functions as a capacity building organization for the involved stakeholders. And the last institution is proposed to hold the role of being responsible for the system operation in the ASEAN power grid. This figure shows the proposed APG institutions organizational chart. This chart contains the structure of planning and operation department, as well as the other associated operation departments. Legal and regulation department is a high priority. This in-house resource is a favor of dealing with organizational, contractual, and legal issues. Besides of general affairs, APG institution will have several departments such as system planning, APG codes guidelines and research, and information technology and SCADA, and the system operation and coordination, and then some market and multilateral trading, and the last capacity building department. Each department will be established in the initial stage, and the subunits in dotted line will be formed in the advanced stage. However, there are many barriers and challenges to realize multilateral power trade in ASEAN. Technical and non-technical issues need to be considered for further enabling power trade activities. Incompatibility of technical standards in the different countries, grid code standard to be defined for creating the interconnection and interoperability for power trade. And then data requirement and quality and confidentiality. Usually, transmission system operational and planning data are kept under strict legislation and cannot be shared with other neighboring member states. And then lack of strong interconnection networks. This means insufficient power system network infrastructure and limited number of existing cross-border interconnections. So these are technical issues. And then other non-technical issues. First, regulatory and commercial issues, especially the lack of clear defined trading rules. There is no standardized approach to regional power trade. Second, government policy issues that have the potential to restrict international trade. Then third, it's training and capacity building regarding the gaps in the knowledge and the understanding of utility stuff. Then fourth, potential compatibility of regional trade with national power market development at different stages of national development in relation to electricity trading and market reform. And the last, location of the ASEAN Power Grid Institution's office and determine the ASEAN member states' fees. To realize the ASEAN Power Grid concept, these issues must be overcome. So ASEAN member states has formulated the ABAIC Phase 2 last year. So this is an excerpt from the ASEAN Power Grid chapter of ABAIC Phase 2. According to ABAIC Phase 2, HAPA plans to explore expanding multilateral power trade following the success of the LTMSP. They will be guided by the key findings and recommendations from our study, feasibility study for ASEAN multilateral power trade by IEA, then ASEAN Interconnect Master Plan Study 3 by ASEAN Center for Energy. So AIM3 is an ongoing project. Then AIM3 will provide a new and updated plan of the ASEAN Power Grid to pursue the development of a high-level plan for the realization of multilateral power trade. Then HAPA developed the 4 strategies and action plans to accelerate the ASEAN Power Grid. Strategies focusing on acceleration of the ASEAN Power Grid projects and initiate the expansion of multilateral electricity trading. And then institutional framework and regulatory capacity and harmonizing the minimum technical requirements. And then integrating renewable energy and other digital development into the ASEAN Power Grid. HAPA is going to implement these strategies in cross coordination with relevant organizations. In conclusion, energy resources in each ASEAN member states vary from country to country. Regional power trades through cross-border interconnections can realize optimal power generation mix in regional level. It costs a lot to introduce the high voltage transmission lines, but it is expected to bring more benefit to ASEAN member states. And then from our study, GMS ACMEC can become a good start point of multilateral power trade in full ASEAN. Then APG institution is necessary to enable regional coordination and later multilateral trading of electricity amongst their member states, maintaining the balance, stability, and reliability of the interconnected power grids across borders. And lastly, to establish APG institution, high-level regional agreements and more need to be in place to set a clear regional ambition. Also, more detailed agreements giving the appropriate authority to the institution and its function as a regional body will be needed. And finally, ABIC provided a roadmap for realizing the ASEAN Power Grid. AREA will also continue to contribute ASEAN in cooperation with related organizations such as ASEC, HAPUA, and so on. So that is all for my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Ueda. It's good to know that we are integrating our system in the ASEAN countries, even though we are now can only do the bilateral trading, but we aim to move forward into multilateral trading in the future. And it's good to know that we have many plans in order to expedite the integration of the power system in our countries. And you can save all the questions till the end. If the audience, anybody in the audience have any question, you can save it for Mr. Ueda at the end of this session. Then, thank you very much, Mr. Ueda.
Thank you.
And let me move to the second speakers. The second speaker is Global HVAC Product Marketing Manager at ABB Motion. She worked on heating and cooling substations design in her previous career, and most recently has been within product management and marketing function at ABB. Experience in optimizing HVAC system performance with variable speed drives and motors shapes ABB's approach to district energy solution following customer needs, market trends, and standards present in the industry. Hold Master of Science degree in Thermal Engineering and Energy Technology, and ABB representative in BACnet Interest Group, Europe, APUA, and Eurovent. And today she's gonna give a presentation on the importance of energy efficiency. Please welcome Maria Fedorovich-Eva.
Hi everyone, and thank you very much for the introduction. I will start sharing my screen shortly, and please let me know if you won't be able to see it in several seconds, but I hope it's not going to be the case. So it's a big pleasure for me to attend this event, and as said, I will be representing ABB, Global Technology Leader, and I will be talking about the future energy systems and the importance of energy efficiency in particular. So I have been already introduced, but just to maybe make a couple of highlights. I've been always working in the field of energy technology, and it comes to energy generation and transition to systems taking part in these processes. And as you see, I do think that it's extremely important to be a part of different kinds of engineering societies, simply because this is where a lot of industry-related discussions are happening, and this is where different kinds of standards, also energy efficiency standards, discussed, and basically in these societies, we really shape our way towards sustainable and energy efficient future of cities. And just to introduce ABB, so as said, it's a global technology leader, and we manufacture products, we design systems, but we also offer services and software. we act in different areas of industry, including buildings, transportation, and infrastructure, and of course, various industries. At the same time, we operate globally, so we are represented in Asia, in Middle East, Americas, and Europe. So it's a truly global company, I would say. And just to give you a bit of understanding when it comes to the company scale, so we are represented in over 100 countries, and we've been having over 100,000 employees. But talking about urban energy and general trends present in the industry, it's important to understand that the biggest trend nowadays is energy efficiency, and it is supported by different governmental initiatives and directives. At the same time, we can see that the cost of energy is increasing constantly, so it gives some additional push for facility owners and for equipment manufacturers to move towards sustainable and energy efficient solutions. At the same time, it's important to highlight a trend very similar to energy efficiency, which is sustainability, and it's a bit wider term than energy efficiency, because it also includes, let's say, wise material usage when manufacturing certain solutions or components for those solutions. And we can clearly see nowadays that different cities, different municipalities, they actually try to follow the sustainability agenda and reduce CO2 emissions in their municipalities and cities by different means. And a bit later, I will elaborate how exactly this is happening. It's also important not to ignore such big trend, urban trend, as a population increase. And actually, by 2030, we expect the population of our planet to reach about 8 billion. And at the same time, it's good to understand that the urbanization rate is increasing, and about 60% of the population will be living in cities. So you can connect this trend very well with the sustainability trend and the municipal activities towards improving the situation in big cities. It's also important not to ignore such a trend as digitalization. Because we can say that the usage rate of different kinds of smart devices is constantly increasing. If we look at current solutions and products, many of those, they have this kind of wireless capabilities, wireless connectivities. This also present in the industry. So here I talk not only about some domestic appliances, about our personal devices, but also about industries. So they start employing digitalization more and more. And a bit later, I will again explain how exactly this is happening and what kind of effect it brings to the industry and to our life in general. At the same time, it's important not to ignore such a trend as increasing living standards. So we all see that life standards become higher, and for example, the indoor environment is expected to be more comfortable and at the same time safe. My session is dedicated to energy efficiency solutions, and I will be speaking in particular about drives, motors, and digital services helping to improve energy efficiency of systems and buildings. So, talking about the role of motors in energy efficiency, it's good to understand that electric motors, they consume over 45% of the world's electricity, and I would say that it's a very high percentage. So of course, it's wise to start thinking on how to make motors more energy efficient. by 2040, the number of motors is actually going to double. And again, this is the reason why we start looking for more efficient motor technologies. So if we talk about the adoption of high efficiency motors, we see that estimating the contribution of this technology in energy consumption can actually be such that we will be able to cut about 10% of the global energy consumption if investing in high efficient motors. So it really makes a difference to start employing more efficient motor technologies. At the same time, it's good to understand that talking about urban energy, buildings can be easily responsible for consuming over 30-35% of global energy use. Of course, there are different studies, different estimates, but the building energy usage is clearly above 30% if looking at the global energy consumption. And as said, the urbanization rate is increasing, so the number of buildings is expected to double actually in 40 years by 2060. So we see that it's important to invest in building energy efficiency. And if we look at the building energy consumption, so about 50% of energy is actually used by building heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. And as we all know, those systems, they almost never run at 100% load. So if start employing variable speed drives, allowing to adjust the energy consumption in HVAC, we can easily cut the building energy usage by 20 to 60%, and this is a tremendous number. And if you look at the building energy consumption globally, so employing drives in building HVAC can reduce global energy consumption again by about 10%, which is another very big number. So it's wise investing in variable speed drive technology for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems in buildings. I would probably like to introduce a bit of ABB offering in relation to drives, motors, and services. So as you can see, our offering is extremely wide, and we cover a very wide power range with our drives and motors. And as you see, we have very different motor and drive technologies. At the same time, the number of services we offer is very wide as well. And a bit later in the presentation, again, I will become more specific and also explain how services contribute in energy efficiency and in energy savings. So talking about the standards present in the industry, probably it's worth highlighting such a standard, a number of standards and energy efficiency requirements as eco-design set of requirements. And it started being developed in Europe, but actually now this trend is being spread globally. And for example, eco-design for motors requires the energy or efficiency rate IA3. And these requirements, they have been established recently, so in July this year. And for motors, it's required to be IA3 compliant. Earlier, it was allowed to have IA2 energy efficiency level for motors if variable speed drives are used, but it's not the case anymore. And it's good to understand that different energy efficiency requirements for various sets of products, they become stricter and stricter year to year. And for example, the eco-design set of requirements from 2020 3 will allow energy efficiency level for motors I4 and higher. So already in 2 years, we will step towards a newer and higher energy efficiency level for motors. Of course, there are some exclusions. Of course, these requirements are not set for all powers right away, but it's good to understand and recognize this kind of trends. And if these trends are presented locally, it usually allows that within this location, we are not able to use equipment which has lower energy efficiency standards. And this is good to understand for example, equipment manufacturers who export their equipment to different regions of the world. At the same time, we have been seeing that energy efficiency requirements, they also start being established for drives, and this, again, very recent eco-design requirement for drives starts requiring I2 energy efficiency level for drives from July this year. And again, it's good to understand that this kind of requirements are not present only in Europe, and they become stricter. So it's wise thinking ahead and actually start thinking on employing more energy efficient products in your facilities. Or if we consider equipment manufacturers, we should start thinking about how to invest in the energy efficiency of our equipment. So later next year, in several years, we will be able to meet more strict energy efficiency requirements for our products. So talking about motor efficiency, of course, it's a must to use motors of certain energy efficiency class to be compliant with the local sets of rules. But it's also good to understand that, for example, talking about HVAC systems, set those are not always run at 100% load, and therefore it makes sense to look at the part load efficiencies of motor technologies we utilize. And actually on the right side of the slide, you can see how different motor technologies or how their efficiency varies with part loads and full loads. So if we compare different motor technologies, we can see that, for example, at 100% load, there is almost no energy efficiency difference. But if we start thinking about systems not running 100% time at 100% load, we immediately see from this image or this diagram that the efficiency difference between different motor technologies starts having quite a big gap at part loads. And I think here the difference at 10 or maybe 15% load is actually about 30% between different motor technologies. So this is why our advice is always to consider what kind of systems you design and how those systems operate if they don't run most of the time at 100% load, and you're selecting motor technologies for systems. Please make sure that those motor technologies, they are also energy efficient and the part loads where you operate most of the time. From ABB side, we have recently introduced an I5 synchronous reluctance motor technology, which actually offer up to 30% lower energy losses compared to standard induction I3 motors. And their part load efficiency can be different from standard motor technologies as much as 30%. So again, look at part load efficiencies when selecting your motor technologies. I'm not going to be too detailed about drives, but my main message would be to, again, look at what kind of effect variable speed drives bring to your system. And we've been seeing that very often consultants, they select drives based on the drive efficiency. But please keep in mind that certain drive technologies, they, of course, they bring a positive effect for the application efficiency, for the applications they control. But if the power quality of the drives, if the effect on power quality of the drives you choose is negative in terms of electromagnetic noise they introduce to the power network, this can affect the power network efficiency, not from a good perspective. And when selecting drive technologies, look at how they perform in terms of power quality, actually. And here you can see several examples on the screen. And it would be good to see that, for example, in the very first case, we have a pretty efficient drive having 98% efficiency, but its effect on the power network and total system efficiency is such that the system efficiency is about 87%, because to mitigate the power quality effect the drive brings, we need to employ different kinds of filters, and those bring their losses to the system. At the same time, in the very last system, the example you can see on the bottom of the page, the initial drive efficiency is not that high, but as it is a prominent active front-end drive technology, it's able to significantly improve the power quality of the network it is connected to, and therefore the total system efficiency is higher than in the first case where we had a very efficient drive, but did not consider that the system will require some extra solutions to improve its power quality. So when selecting drives for a system, be wise and please look at what kind of effect the drives bring on the system in terms of power quality. One more thing I would like to highlight, as I see that my time is about to expire, is it's important to also consider the digitalization of your systems. And here you can see the example of ABB Ability digital offering. What this kind of services allow to do, they allow to see the energy consumption of different applications forming the system. And here we can clearly see the performance of our system. So we can see which components consume most of the energy and how we can actually mitigate the energy consumption and improve the energy efficiency of the system. So digital services, they usually bring a very good transparency in terms of system energy consumption. So you can again see what kind of gaps in terms of energy efficiency and energy use your system has, and act accordingly on improving the energy efficiency of certain system parts. And something what I would also like to highlight is it's not only about components you use in your system, it's also about using efficient technologies. And here you can see a very good example of actually district energy systems. So we can see some city here requiring cooling, and if generating cooling on site, usually the efficiency of those processes is quite poor, because it's some individual source supplying some small building or only part of the building. And if moving towards centralized cooling generation, usually the efficiency of the cooling generation process is higher. And here I put this number 50%. So up to 50% reduced energy consumption can be achieved with the district energy, especially if we start using free cooling sources. Like here you can see some ocean which delivers water to the cooling plant, and from this cooling plant, the cooling water is delivered to different facilities like offices and apartments or supermarkets. So employing efficient technologies is also crucial for higher energy efficiency of your systems. I believe that's all from my side, and thank you very much for your interest. Hoping to get some questions in the session from you later. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much, Maria. And it's interesting to know that even 1 or 2% of loss reduction in a motor can save a lot of energy to the world. And anybody who have questions to Maria, you can save your question till the end of this session. Thank you very much, Maria. And let us move to the next topic, which gonna be the potential of green hydrogen. Our next speaker, in a motor can save a lot of energy to the world. Our next speaker has a education background in chemical engineering, got a bachelor degree from Chulalongkorn University, Thailand, and a PhD from Oregon State University, USA. He used to work with chemical technology companies in USA as an application engineer in October 2003 until March 2005. And then he moved back to Thailand and joined PTT Public Company in the Innovation Institute as a manager, starting from August 2005 until now. And today he's going to give us a picture of the potential of green hydrogen. Please welcome Dr. Thana Sawnchamni. He moved back to Thailand and joined.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tikom, for very nice presentation. I will start to share my screen now. Okay, I think as everyone see my screen.
Yes, I can see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Again, my name is Thana Sawnchamni from PTT Public Company Limited. And today I would like to share you with interesting topics in energy transition, and it is hydrogen. And today I would like to focus my presentation on the potential of the green hydrogen. This is the outline of my presentation. I will start my presentation with the overview of the hydrogen and its application. And then I'm going to talk about the potential of the green hydrogen. Well, let's start with the introduction of the hydrogen. As you see here, it is the interesting facts about hydrogen. Hydrogen has the atomic weight at 1.008. And you know that in United States, they celebrate the National Hydrogen and Fuels Day in October 8, which is coming from 10 and 8 here. And at present, hydrogen is used mostly in the methanol and ammonia production, and also in the refinery. And you probably know that hydrogen and electricity are connected to each other. You can produce hydrogen from electricity, and once you want the electricity, you can use fuel cell and get the hydrogen passed to the fuel cell to get the electricity. And the first alkaline fuel cell was used in NASA space program in Apollo spacecraft. This is a picture that tells you something about story about Japan, Olympic Games, and the advanced technology. This is a picture that I like. I really like it. Back to Tokyo Olympic Game 1964, you can see that Japan has launched the first high-speed train in the world, Shinkansen, just 9 days before the Olympic game. And you see that at present, high-speed trains are very popular and used in almost modern city. And this year, Olympic game, Tokyo 2020, Japan introduced hydrogen technology to the world. You can see from the Olympic torch here, instead of using the propane, they use the green hydrogen to power the Olympic torch. And for green hydrogen, it emission, no carbon dioxide released to the atmosphere. Japan also introduced the hydrogen town as the Olympic game athlete village, and to show the hydrogen technology here, like hydrogen station and power, the power that's used here from hydrogen too. And also in this Olympic game, they use a fuel cell bus named Sora to transport athletes and officials during Olympic game. Well, before we go further, I would like to make sure we understand the color of the hydrogen, the same meaning. When we talk about the brown hydrogen, that means hydrogen is produced from coal. If you produce hydrogen from natural gas, it's called the gray hydrogen. And if you produce the hydrogen from natural gas with the CCS, which is carbon capture and storage, we call it blue hydrogen. But if you produce the hydrogen from renewable, we will call it the green hydrogen. Because the hydrogen can be compressed in a small volume, it can have a very high density, like a 100 megajoule per kilograms. At present, hydrogen can be used in the energy sector and also for the feedstock. For the energy sector, we use hydrogen to produce electricity and also heat and transportation, used in transportation. And for feedstock, like I mentioned before, we can use hydrogen to produce the ammonia methanol and use in refinery. We also use the hydrogen in the metal and gas industry too. I would like to give you some example of the hydrogen fuel cell applications. You can see from this slide that the application of hydrogen can start from a really small application like a FC bike. And we just learned that Xiaomi is developing FC motorcycle, which will be released in the market by 2023. And for FCEV application, you probably know that Toyota Mirai already launched the second generation of Toyota Mirai 2 years ago. And for Hyundai Nexo, they already released the second generation of Hyundai Nexo too, and they are starting to sell this product in Australia. And in the next couple of years, you see here, there will be another application of hydrogen for hydrogen fuel internal combustion engine from the Toyota Prius, which will be in the market by 2025. For FC truck and FC bus, you probably see most of the movements of this in Europe, and especially in UK, the REA bus, which is the first hydrogen double-deck bus already released and used in London. And you see a lot of the FC bus demonstration in Europe, like in Germany, in Poland, and in Russia. For the heavy duty and FC heavy duty trucks, I believe Hyundai Nexian is probably the most promising FC truck right now, as they already passed 1 million kilometer fleet already. And beside of the Hyundai, Hino, Toyota, and Great Wall Motor from China, they are developing the FC truck, and we expect to see this commercial truck in the market in the next couple years. Well, that's all of the overview of the hydrogen and its application. I would like to focus now on the green hydrogen. This is the very simple of the green hydrogen value chain. You start from the production. You can notice here that for making the green hydrogen, you must start with the renewable energy and use the electrolysis to split water out of the, to split hydrogen out of the water. Once we get the hydrogen, you can send the hydrogen to the end-use application by either shipping or truck and pipeline. Hydrogen can be used in the industry, like I mentioned before, and the upcoming application will be in the transportation. And also you can use hydrogen for heating and the power generation. The most important thing from this slide, I would like you to remember that to get the green hydrogen, we need renewable energy and a very good electrolysis. Well, people talk about green hydrogen this day and see some potential. But I would like to say that three key factors that drive the hydrogen are listed below. The first one is the declining cost of the renewable energy. And the second one is the declining cost of electrolyzer and also strong national policy support on the hydrogen. So I will go to next slide. So the first thing you probably know at this day, the renewable energy are getting cheaper and cheaper, and it's going more cheaper in the near future. I just get some presentation from some reference to show you here. For example, here in Japan, you see that the renewable energy in Japan, like solar energy and wind onshore energy, is getting cheaper from 2014 to 2020. It's reduced almost more than 50%, and it's going to get cheaper toward 2050. So this is one thing that makes the green hydrogen more attractive this day. The second one is you talk about the capex of electrolysis to make the green hydrogen. You see from this graph here, from 2014 to 2019, alkali electrolyzer and also proton exchange membrane electrolyzer, the price of the capex is dropping like 40% to 50%, and this will make the process of making the green hydrogen even cheaper. And the last one is the strong policy support in green hydrogen. When we take a look at the country who has the concern on carbon neutral target or carbon dioxide emission, maybe like to set like a net zero target in 2050, something like that. You know, most of the country that has the carbon neutral target, they have hydrogen in their energy agenda. For example, in EU, US, and Canada, China, Australia, South Korea, Japan, they have the both carbon neutral target and also hydrogen in their national strategy. Back to Thailand, what I see is there is a talk about the hydrogen technology starting from early this year in March, when the Ministry of Energy and also Ministry of Natural Resource and Environment, they meet each other and they announced the Thailand long-term strategy on climate change mitigation for COP26. And if you read the item number 6 here, it's read the capture and storage utilization of carbon dioxide and hydrogen technology. This is the first time we hear the hydrogen technology mentioned by the government, and I'm really glad to see this thing happen. Well, the positioning of the green hydrogen in each country really depend on how much renewable energy that available in each country, in that country. For example, in Middle East, they have a very good potential of geography to produce the solar energy. For example, in UAE and in Saudi Arabia, they see themselves that in the future, they would like to be the green hydrogen exporter. Same thing happening in Australia, that they have a very good sunshine and also empty land in the middle of their country. They see themselves that in the future, instead of export the coal, they will export the green hydrogen instead. And also for Singapore, this country has really concern about the carbon reduction. But the thing is, they have a very limit of the renewable energy. So it's my expect that in the near future, they will be the net importer for the green hydrogen. Well, let's move to the main technologies to produce the green hydrogen, which is the water electrolysis technology. Currently, there are 3 main water electrolysis in the world. So the first 2 electrolysis called alkali electrolysis and the proton exchange membrane electrolysis. These 2 technologies already commercialized, and the third one is the high temperature electrolysis. For example, solid oxide electrolyzer. It's still under developing stage. And if you see the picture on the right hand side, that the project that already implement electrolyzer mostly will be in the small and medium plant capacity. For the big plant capacity like this, it's still in early commercialization. And for the solid oxide electrolyzer, for a high temperature electrolyzer, most of them still in the demonstration phase. I would like to give you some idea, the comparison about the three technologies now. We categorize into low temperature and high temperature. For alkali and proton exchange membrane, we categorize them as the low temperature as it's operate at 20 to 200 degrees Celsius. And they use the liquid and solid polymer to be the electrolyte. And the efficiency you can see here, it's from 60% to maybe the most, it's like 80 something percent. And to make sure that this is the commercialized technology already. But for low temperature, for high temperature electrolysis here, it's operate at 500 to 1000 degrees Celsius. And because it used at the high temperature, we need the solid ceramic to be the electrolyte. And you can see that the efficiency it's up to 80 to 100%. But again, this technology is still in the demonstration phase, and it's supposed to be in the commercial phase very soon. Well, we talk about the technology, the country. Now let's move to the price of the green hydrogen. At this time, I have to admit that the green hydrogen is still more expensive than the brown hydrogen currently, and even the blue hydrogen cheaper than green hydrogen. But you see, from 2025 to 2030, it is expected that the green hydrogen will be much cheaper and will be competitive to brown and blue hydrogen. And some might say that after 2030, the green hydrogen will probably the cheapest hydrogen produced. So it will be complete with the brown hydrogen and maybe even cheaper. Well, I would like to discuss a little bit on the commercial side of the green electrolysis technology. This is the example of the alkali technology that already implement. The picture here show the player that developing the alkali technologies. I would like to example one of the largest and biggest operating alkali electrolyzer to up to date. It's located in Fukushima, Japan. It uses the solar energy to produce the hydrogen to alkali technology. This plant can provide electricity to about 150 households, and the hydrogen here can use to fuel the fuel cell car, about 560 car. And in the next year, it's going to have another commercial plant in Norway that they produce the green hydrogen and use in the ammonia to produce the ammonia and green fertilizer. And it's supposed to be on stream in 2022. For proton exchange member electrolyzer, here are the list of the players that developing the proton exchange membrane technology. And probably the largest one right now is located in Wesseling, Germany. This place, they use the wind power to generate the hydrogen through the electrolysis here. This project is a collaborative effort between Shell and ITM Power. The hydrogen here will use in the Shell refinery, in which they can reduce the carbon footprint. And also this hydrogen will be used for electrical generating, for heat, and also used in the transportation sector. Let's move back to Thailand. If you probably questioning right now, what's the green hydrogen in Thailand? I have to say that currently I see two projects in Thailand that concern on the green hydrogens. The first one, the first project is belong to EGAT. They use the wind energy from wind farm in Lamtakong area to produce the hydrogen when we have the wind. And when we don't have the wind, they use this hydrogen to produce the electricity to fuel cell to power Lamtakong Learning Center here. I actually went to Lamtakong Learning Center here twice already, and I really like it. And I would recommend people to go here and visit the process of the green hydrogen for energy storage. The second one is belong to PTT. We use the excess, the solar energy from floating solar to produce the hydrogen, and we store it. And then at night, when we don't have the solar, we use the hydrogen to produce the electricity and use for the street light. And we do this for the CS project. It's located in Dong Khilek, Prachin province. Well, it's come to almost the last of my presentation. I would like to give this opportunity to introduce everyone about Hydrogen Group of Thailand, or we call it shortly Hydrogen Thailand. Hydrogen Thailand was initiated by PTT in December 2018 when we gathering the believer in hydrogen from the private sector, government sector, and also for the research sector. We have the same vision that we want to drive hydrogen as the future energy platform in decarbonized circular economy in Thailand. And the current chairman of the Hydrogen Thailand is Kun Piyabut Charupen from BIG. And at present, we have about 12 members in Hydrogen Thailand, as you see the logo here. And the mission of Hydrogen Thailand is that we want to share knowledge to do the KM to the people in Thailand and increase their awareness in hydrogen and the potential of the hydrogen applications. And we want to strengthen the collaboration among the Hydrogen Thailand member, and we want to create the hydrogen roadmap and do the demonstration project together. And finally, we want to move ourselves into the green hydrogen. This is the picture that we have taken in during the first Hydrogen Thailand Symposium last year. It hosted by PTT at Central Grand Central Plaza Lat Pao. You can see a lot of smile here. And unfortunately, this year we cannot have this seminar because COVID-19 pandemics. But next year we're going to have this seminar, and hope everyone can join this seminar. So my last slide, I want to give you some key takeaway message is that hydrogen will play the important role in decarbonization strategy, and it will be the good linkage between renewable energy and the use application use. And the cost of hydrogen still expensive, but it will going down and down, and will be competitive with brown hydrogen by 2025 to 2030. And the Hydrogen Group Thailand I mentioned before will stimulate the movement of hydrogen in Thailand and collaboration among the government sector, private, and education and research sector. So that's all my presentation today. Thank you very much for everyone to join here. And if you have further question, you can contact me here. And I would like to thanks for the organizer for invite me to join this interesting seminar too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Thana. Thank you very much. When I first heard about green hydrogen,
Yes.
I asked myself, isn't hydrogen clean and clean enough? And now, after listening to you, I learned even the green can be greener. Okay, good. But Dr. Thana, thank you. But please stay with us because I saw question addressed to you in the chat.
Yes.
So Peter gonna convey the question to you at the end of the session.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
And our next speaker is Dr. Pongpan Walasayan. He's a senior professional electrical engineer at Division of Energy Regulation and Conservation, which is under Department of Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency, or we know as DEDE, Ministry of Energy of Loyal Thai Government. He graduated from Loughborough University in UK, where he obtained his doctoral degree in electrical engineering. At the EDE, he has devoted over 10 years in the field of energy conservation promotion in Thailand, with focus on enforcement of the energy conservation law and energy management in designated facilities which is building and industry. With his expertise in energy conservation, especially regarding policy implementation, energy efficiency financial support program, he involves in the establishment of the recent Energy Efficiency Plan, or we know as EEP 2018, as well as take parts in a number of financial related energy efficiency projects. He has also been invited as a distinguished speaker as well as lecturer for university to a multitude of audiences with passion toward energy conservation and energy efficiency. And today, he's gonna give us or tell us more about the potential of district cooling in Thailand. So please, Dr. Pompan Walasayan, the stage is yours.
Thank you for your kind attention, Dr. Atikom. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the organizer for having me here today. Today, I would like to share information about status and update of the district cooling project in Thailand. I hope you can all see my PowerPoint. I'll start with the energy situation in Thailand a little bit to give you some background. Thailand's final energy consumption in 2020 was 77,340 kTOE, and it decreased about 10% from previous year. The commercial energy consumption was share about 86% or equivalent to 66,821 kTOE per year. The rest are renewable energies. But if we consider by fuel, petroleum product play the greatest proportions, which is about 48% of the total final energy consumption, and followed by electricity 21.7%, and then coal and its products 10.3%, and the rest are renewable energy and yes, both traditional and renewable energies. If we considering by sectors, you can see that the largest proportion is the transportation, which is 38.4%, and then industrial 37.3%, and then residential, commercial, and agricultural. And by combining both industrial and transportations, is equal to more than 75% of total final energy consumptions. For energy plan, in Thailand, we are currently working on a new energy plan, which will combine all the 5 sub-plans together: PDP, EEP, AEDP, gas and oil plan. With the new plan focusing on carbon neutrality at 2065 between 2065 to 2070. You can see that many countries up to now have taken the lead by announcing that the countries target at the net zero. Some countries are aiming at 2050, some aiming at later. In this new plan, we are focusing on number one, by increasing renewable energies up to 50%. Also, increase the use of electric vehicle, EV at 30 at 30, and energy efficiency by aiming at 30% energy efficiency, EI reductions, and also energy transition. We call it 4D1E, consisting of digitalizations, decarbonizations, decentralization, and deregulations, and also electrifications. This plan also includes increase business competitiveness through low carbon economies, recovery measure from COVID-19, and as well as things like improve air qualities to reduce pollution like PM 2.5. Looking more specific on cooling, rising demand for cooling is already putting enormous strain on electricity system in many countries, as well as driving up emissions. The rise in cooling demand will be particularly important in hot region like in Asia, in Southeast Asia. There is no doubt that a global demand for space cooling and energy need for it will continue to grow for decades. According to the IEA study, energy need for space cooling will be triple by 2050. You can see that from the graph, global energy use for space cooling in 2050 reached 6,200 terawatt hour, with nearly 70% of the increase coming from the residential sectors, and much of it taking place mainly in emerging economies. The share of space cooling in total electricity use in building grow by 30%. Cooling become the strongest driver of the growth in building electricity demand, responsible for 40% of the total growth, and the second strongest driver of electricity growth after industrial motors. By introducing and applying higher energy efficiency of the cooling equipment and system, we believe that it will reduce the need of to build a new generation capacity to meet the peak demand. From these pictures, you can see that air conditioning available in many type and many scale and cost, from very small device designed to cool a single room to a large large-scale system for entire buildings, and also the district energy system network for cooling a group of the building. All these type of air conditioning system are usually powered by electricity, or some large system can also fueled by NG, natural gas, or excess heat, for example. District heating and cooling system exists currently in many cities around the world. District cooling network supplies chilled water produced in a central plant to buildings and industrial sites through a network of insulated pipes. The chilled water is produced using the same technology as air conditioning in commercial buildings, like electric chiller or heat pump, using a refrigerant cycle, but in a larger scale. The principal advantage of this cooling is that buildings supply chilled water in this way do not require their own AC systems, which can save space, also reduce the need to create surplus cooling generation capacity. Cost can also lower because of the economy of the scale. And also, this is cooling. This cooling also incorporates storage system, where they can help to reduce the need of to reduce the time to run at a high electricity cost, for example. Moreover, the district cooling plant has a long lifespan, and also the system also reduces greenhouse gases and reduce heat in urban island effect. The second part of my presentation, I would like to introduce the district cooling project in Thailand. Some are in the area. The majority of them are in the metropolitan area. Some are already operating in operations, and some are already in development. For example, here number 1, 2, 3, 4 are already in operations, and number 5, 6, 7 is under constructions. The first one is the district cooling system and power plant, or DCAP. It is one of the earliest modern district cooling and heating facility in Thailand. It supplies both electricity, chilled water, and also steam. Operating in 2006. So their customer, they supply these electricity, chilled water, and steam in the airport, Suvarnabhumi Airport, vicinity area. The customer including AOT, EGAT, Thai Catering Hotel, and State Railway of Thailand. The system they use natural gas to fuel a gas turbine, where the waste heat go to heat recovery system generations, gas turbine generating electricity, and then the second cycle steam turbine also generating electricity. There are auxiliary boiler together with natural gas to generate steam, and together with absorption chiller to generate a chilled water. The second one on the left is the district cooling site at the government complex Jangwatthana. Is locating at the state property land on Jangwatthana Road, area of 349 hectares, with the building area of the project around 929,800 square meters. And with the cooling capacity of 12,000 refrigeration tons, operating in 2009. The building also was designed in a way that it conserves energies, including the highly insulated building envelopes, a multi-layer roof consisting of high reflectance value material and steel structure, and 6 inches thick insulator. The inclined wall is a unique feature of the government complex. By leaning outward, the sunlight exposed surface on the wall are minimized, and heat transfer in the building is 8 times lower than that of a perpendicular wall. On the right is the district cooling site in at Sirirat, the medical excellences in Southeast Asia. It's a multiple building hospital campus operation in 2020 and 12, with the gross floor area of 238,000 square meter, with the cooling capacity of 6,000 refrigerant tons. The next one is the Kasikorn Bank, head office of Kasikorn Bank at the Rajburana near Rajburana area. It is one of the largest commercial bank in Thailand, with the area consisting of a gross floor area of 163,000 square meter, and a cooling capacity of 4,000 refrigeration tons. And that's all the sites that are in operation. But the next one and later will be the site where they are under development. Number 5 is called Forestia. Is a mixed-use complex consisting of hotel, office, condo, hospital, and retails, including residentials. They use a district cooling and to eliminate air conditioning condensing unit. Even in the residential area, the piping is underground, with the gross floor area of 750,000 square meters, with cooling capacity of 10,000 refrigerant tons. On the right is the One Bangkok site, is a mixed-use complex, hotel, office, condominiums, hospital, and retail. Gross floor area of 1,830,000 square meter. Cooling capacity of 38,000 refrigerant tons. Locating at Rama 4 Road near Lumpini Park. A private sector property development, 16.7 hectares. It's scheduled to open in 2023. The district cooling center and power distribution system will run by a joint venture company of Bangkok Smart Energy and Mitsui & Co. and Tokyo Gas Energy Solution Corporation for 30-year contracts. It will provide cheap water and electricity with installed capacity of 38 refrigerant tons and 240 megawatt of electricity. Supply to 16 buildings, mixed-use districts. And also the district cooling system will also provide accurate demand the system will provide accurate demand forecast based on weather forecast for the next day and past demand analysis. The next one is number 7 is the CU Jula Smart City. It's a mixed-use complex, including hotel, office, condominium, hospital, retail, and residential. Locating at Samyan commercial area near Chulalongkorn University. Gross floor area of 842,000 square meter and cooling capacity of 18,000 refrigerant tons. The utility who will provide district cooling is a consortium comprised of BCPG Public Company, Singapore Keppel DHCS Limited Company, Team Consulting Engineering and Management Public Company Limited. The utility operator is to design, build, and operate and transfer the district cooling plant. Keppel DHCS will lead the operations and maintenance for 20 years. You can see that the pattern of the district cooling project in Thailand is I give you the example in these two projects is a CU Smart City and one Bangkok. Many of them use the same concept where they will have a long-term contracts to supply cheap water and electricity from a joint venture company which consisting of company with district cooling expertise and technologies, and also energy related company and also local consultants. There are potentials on this cooling system in Thailand in many sites, including Makasan Complex, Bangkok, where there will be a center for a high-speed train at the Makasan area, a commercial complex at Utapao International Airport, Chonburi, transit-oriented development along high-speed train routings, and other large-scale mixed-use complex and other private development, as well as the smart city development area, because district cooling system is one of the significant component in the smart energy system, energy criteria. Together with the cutting-edge technology, as you can see in Maria presentations, the management and control software, including automations and machine learning and AI, I believe that there is a plenty of district cooling potential site in Thailand, and I am sure that the district cooling will serve the cooling need with efficient energy consumption. With that, thank you very much. I'm happy to answer all your questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pongpan. I know that DED has been trying to promote district cooling, but many years ago, we only know about decap unit. That seems to be the only one many years ago, and not so many. And nowadays, I'm glad to see that there are many more district cooling units in Thailand, including in Bangkok. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Pongpan, and please stay with us until the end. And there must be a lot of questions waiting for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our next presenter, in fact, he doesn't need much of the introduction because he has been known to all the countries in ASEAN. Dr. Nuki Apya Uttama is appointed as the Executive Director of the ASEAN Center for Energy, or we know as ASEW, and reporting directly to the international organization under ASEAN entities, and reporting to Governing Council consists of ministries, energy in ASEAN member states. He is currently an advisory board member of ASEAN Pacific Energy Research Center, APERC, World Economic Forums, WEF, Global Future Councils, and Energy Working Group of UN ASEW. He has an academic and research background as postdoctorate in graduate school, energy science, Kyoto University, on life cycle, energy analysis, and energy scenario and planning modeling. Holding PhD with research on life cycle energy analysis from Joint Graduate School of Energy and Environment, King Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi, Thailand. Prior to assuming his position in ACE, he has been working in various international organizations, as well as private sectors in energy and environmental issues. He also serves as an invited lecturer in Daipo Nekulo University, as well as an editor and reviewer in various international journals. And today, Dr. Nuki gonna give us an outlook of ASEAN energy as the ASEAN energy outlook. Please, Dr. Nuki.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Atikom, for the very nice introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever the audience staying. So my name is Nuki Agiutama, and it's a precious time and a very interesting time. I would like to present the ASEAN Energy Outlook, the latest updates on the ASEAN Energy Outlook, in particularly on these perspective and energy landscapes, the view of the energy supply and demand. So the Southeast Asia, we do have blueprint energy activities or blueprint energy target. We call it the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation. And this year, we already started the phase 2, 2021-2025. The APEC phase 2 having a very solid theme, which is enhancing energy connectivity and market integration in ASEAN to achieve energy security, accessibility, affordability, and sustainability for all. So this main pillar of the energy connectivity and market integration on the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation lies on these four main pillars, which is security, accessibility, affordability, and sustainability. On the phase 2, we add one sub-theme. We call it the accelerating energy transition and strengthening energy resilience through greater innovation and cooperation. So the keywords we're adding is energy transition and also strengthening energy resilience through innovation and cooperation. So we're realizing it that without innovation and cooperation, we may not be handle the energy transition, which is more and more challenging. And as you may know, that the energy supply and demand is very, very related with these the sources of the energy around the globe. So cooperation and innovation is the new keywords that we add under the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation Phase 2. And over there, we also incorporate the global perspective to shape the energy landscape in regions such as the Sustainable Development Goals, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, also including the energy transition, economic growth, as well as current condition that we face, which is COVID-19 pandemics. The key strategies for APEC Phase 2, 2021-2022, 2021-2025 is the ASEAN Power Grid, Trans-ASEAN Gas Pipeline, Clean Coal Technology, Regional Energy Policy Planning, and also Civilian Nuclear Energy. And of course, we capture two important activities or program. We call it the energy efficiency and conservation, as well as the renewable energy, which is the program area number 4 and 5. The energy efficiency and conservation trying to reduce the energy intensity by 32% by 2025 and encourage E&C efforts, especially in the transportation sector and industrial sectors. While it's on the renewable energy, we try to increase the share of RE up to 10% in total primary energy supply, and also including 35% in the installed power capacity by 2025. So these two main activities in the region regarding with the energy supply is very important and crucial for the region to move forward, entering the energy transition, facing the both incorporating the energy, renewable energy, as well as alternative energy into the energy mix. Jumping on the ASEAN Energy Outlook, which is one of the flagship program of us, is reflecting the importance of our research center effort to fulfill its roles, and the aim is to provide policymakers with the awareness of the energy development and threats confronting the area over the coming decades. And development of the AO is according with the ASEAN Center for Energy roles in the region. Our roles is promoting and implementing the ASEAN Energy Cooperation, ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation, and having a three important mandate, which is as a catalyst, a knowledge hub, and also as a think tank. As a think tank, we need to assist the ASEAN member state by identifying and surfacing innovative solutions for ASEAN energy challenges on policies, legal, as well as regulatory frameworks, including the technologies. While it's on the ASEAN Energy Outlook 6 scenarios and thematic insight that we developed last year, based on the 4 main scenarios. First is the baseline scenarios, which is energy growth kept at the constant level as of last historical year. And then the second is the ASEAN member state target scenarios, or ATS, which is achievement of the ASEAN official national target, including the PDPs in each member state. And the next scenarios is the APEC target scenario, or APS, achievement of the APEC aspirational regional target of RE and EI, as I previously mentioned. And also the last scenario, which is talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDG scenarios, will incorporating the SDGs goals set up by the United Nations. And we also including the thematic energy insight, which is ASEAN Power Grid, fossil fuel, efficient air conditioning, greener transport, as well as clean cooking. So on the ASEAN policymakers thematic activities, we have ASEAN Power Grid, which is increased power system connectivity through the APG can enable more efficient use of resource enhance grid stability as well as service in remote areas, and including improving the region energy security and electricity demand and the end-use growth by enabling more cross-border trade, a more interconnected ASEAN, which could make large-scale investment, and of course, indeed more profitable and more efficient. While it's on the fossil fuel thematic activities, the member state can work to reduce GHG emission and other externalities by deploying technologies such as coal upgrading through the high efficiency, low emission or HELE, co-firing system, and especially carbon capture utilization and storage CCUS, and also of course carbon capture and storage CCS, alongside efforts to reduce fossil fuel demand through fuel switching as well as energy efficiency measures. On the efficient air conditioning, the air conditioner ownership and use are expected to rise significantly in the region, and driven by the rising income, urbanization, electrification, increasing standard of living, as well as demand for thermal comfort, the falling air conditioner prices, and also climate change. The policymakers will need to find ways to ensure that the expected increases in cooling demand and air conditioner ownership is sustainable. So the next thematic, which is greener transport, we're realizing two key approaches: adoption of the electricity vehicles and substitution of oil products with biofuels can help member states to reduce oil import dependency and improve energy security. And it is crucial to ensure that biofuel production is sustainable. A key area for further study is developing second-generation biofuel, reduce waste, and also other non-food feedstock. While it's on the clean cooking, the several member states have made progress in bringing clean stove and fuels to even remote rural households, showing the impact of government policies and programs. Nations that have established clean cooking priorities and programs focused on LPG and advanced stove have advanced most rapidly. The use of electric cook stove may be promising for the future. So we utilize firstly the natural gas for the clean cooking, and the next step will be utilizing the electric cook stove. So the ASEAN energy landscape, if we're looking at on our studies, based on the total primary energy supply in the baseline scenarios, the economic growth of ASEAN has been one of the most dynamic and fastest in the world, and we are projected to be the fourth largest region in the world in 2040. And the fueling this growth is the increase of the energy demand, and the demand in primary energy in 2040 is expected to be more than twofold higher than 2017 level. While on the ASEAN countries acknowledge the need for transitioning into low carbon economy, the existing policies implemented by member states has driven large uptake of RE in the past years, and it is expected to drive increase in RE installed capacity in the long term. However, fossil fuel-based generation is still expected to dominate the energy mix in the region to secure its energy supply. So basically, we are currently still relying on the fossil fuel. Looking at the current condition, the supply that we have abundantly on the fossil fuel, even though the region is already becoming the net importer of the oil, but we still have high reserve and resource on the coal and natural gas. In regard to the total final energy consumption, or TFEC, by sectors, the high level of economic growth will increase energy demand in all end-use sectors, basically, and which depend mostly on the fossil fuel, as we're looking at the graph. And in 2040, it's projected to increase by around almost 2.5-fold from the 2017 level, and with industry and transportation sectors leading the growth. So basically, the sector which is leading the increases of the energy demand is from the transport and industrial sectors. That's why the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation really looking at on the how we try to reduce the energy consumption on these two sectors, and what will be the future landscape of energy mix in these two sectors, whether we rely heavily on the fossil fuel, or we sort of having alternative energy supply coming from either renewable energy or other alternative energy source. And then we're looking at in the fuel on the baseline, the fuel fossil fuels contribute to the 60% of the total final energy consumption in 2017, and with oil having the largest share, 47%. And it is projected to continue up to 2040 in this baseline scenario. So we are really considering to make sure if we going ahead on this energy security, we have to make sure the mix of the energy supply is evenly distributed. That's why if we rely heavily on the oil supply, it may be the region will having difficulties to make sure the energy is secure enough in the future. Talking about ASEAN energy security, which stretch up until 2040, and without significant discoveries and exploitation of domestic resources, Southeast Asia will become the net importers of gas starting around 2025, 2027. And of course, also we're going to be the net importers of coal starting 2035, depending on the demand increasing on each region. And of course, also depending on the exports of these two main fossil fuel resource to other regions. But this is the projection that we had on the current situation, meaning that fossil fuel cannot be really becoming main if we're looking at the affordable prices of these fossil fuel resource. We really cannot be really rely on this resource anymore in the next 20 years. Because of this, most of these fossil fuel will be imported, and with the growing reliance on fossil fuel import, the region will face very serious energy security. And I think that will be very, very interesting for us to looking at the more option will be for the next decades, the better the energy security will be. So currently the energy transition is important. We're looking at the whole potential of energy supply, not only fossil fuel, but also the renewable energy as well as the other alternative energy. And when fossil fuel markets are volatile regarding with this high demand beyond the region as well, not to mention the fluctuation of the price will affect the affordability of the prices of the fossil fuel. That's why where we're looking at the message for the member states that they try to really make the energy supplies affordable enough and secure enough. That's why if we import most of these fossil fuel, that will be very challenging for us to really maintain the price very low. So the region need to think ahead on the potential to really make sure the mix of the energy supply is diverse enough and not relying on only one or two energy source. Looking at the primary energy supply on the ASEAN plan of on the APS scenarios or APEC scenarios, the lowering energy demand resulted from achieving the APEC energy efficiency target, especially in the end user sectors, which leads to the lower fossil fuel supply, and this drive a reduction in the need feedstock for power generation. After accounting for the energy transformation processes, the total reduction of total primary energy supply relative to the baseline scenario is about 12% in 2025 and 28% in 2040. So basically, the IPS will providing better scenarios in terms of the energy demand, and therefore also alternatively the supply will be having a better chance to not relying only from the fossil fuel, which is, as we know, that in the next 2 decades we're going to be the net importers for all of this fossil fuel. And the analysis shows saving relative to the baseline scenario in the use of oil, followed by the coal and natural gas. If you're looking at over here on the right side of the graph, and in the power capacity, we will reduce mostly the coal power plant base, and then followed by the gas around 60 gigawatt, and then oil around 5 gigawatt. And we try to increase solar potential around 53 gigawatt, and followed by the wind around 3 gigawatt. So this is basically on the IAPS scenario. the overall RE supply increases due to the renewable energy promotion policies, particularly from the expenditures of biofuel. So that this is quite important things that we need to do on the power capacity shifting, that we are looking at the indigenous power energy supply, looking at the whole potential of the power supply source coming from the whole perspective of the supply of energy. We still relying again until 2040 some of the fossil fuel, coal, remaining coal, natural gas, as well as oil, but we have to really limit the dependencies on those fossil fuel and move forward on these renewable energy such as those biofuel, biomass, solar, wind, hydro, and hydrogen, nuclear, and so on. So we're looking at on the projected power capacity expansion from 2018 to 2025, the addition range from 169 to 179 gigawatt, with the largest addition in the APS scenarios. And in the 2026-2040 period, the amount of capacity added varies for more dramatically, reflecting the impact of the step-up efforts to improve energy efficiency, particularly in these APS scenarios. So the baseline, while on the baseline scenario, 309 gigawatt in the new capacity is added. And looking at on the APS scenario, it's only 132 gigawatt. And in the APS and HGG scenario, capacity increase up to almost 200 gigawatt. So the APEX scenario or APS are showing quite interesting result on the decrease of the power duration, which is the last potential to increase the power duration in 2040. Meaning, if we following up, or really if we really go ahead with the APEX scenarios, then the region will not having large power to be installed. And the total investment required for capacity expansion in those years from 2018 to 2040 is more than 580 billion US dollar in baseline scenario, and around 480 billion US dollar in the targeted scenario or ATS, and around 508 billion in the APS scenario. And if you're looking at over here, yeah, we're realizing it that most of the investment 60 to 90% goes to the renewable energy. So meaning the energy transition is not cheap. So we're realizing that the energy transition is not cheap. That's why we have to start right away to maximize our cooperation as well as innovation, to looking at the potential currently that we have, and starting the R&D to make sure when the time is coming, then we can really step up and really take off on the technology that we have and we produce by ourselves. So meaning we can reduce the potential of the investment as showing on this graph. So I think that's very important for us to do together. While it's on the baseline scenario, it is projected to have a high social cost in the future, reaching up to 1,500 billion by 2040. And the implementation of the ATS could reduce the social cost up to 1,000 billion US dollar the same year. And the meanwhile, by achieving ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation target scenarios, could reduce sharply the social cost up to 766 billion US dollar. And the economic benefit of installing new capacity offset the cost of capacity expansion. And the APS scenario, 303,000 solar and wind jobs will be created, and around 220,000 in solar and 80,000 approximately in wind energy by 2040. And the other scenario, 174,000 jobs are created as seen in this graph. When looking at the ASEAN RE tracking target under the scenario that we developed, so the renewable energy target increases RE share in 23% in total primary energy supply, as well as 35% in the ASEAN installed power capacity. The RE share on TPS in 2019 is almost 14%, which is increasing 0.04% in 2018. And according to the EU 6-hour result, projected RE share in total primary energy supply are 12.8% 15.8% and 14% as well as 15.7% for the baseline ATS and APS scenario respectively. The actual RE share in 2019 surpassed the baseline target, but almost reached ATS, and it is still quite much lower than regional target. So basically, coming from all of those perspectives, the landscape that landscape analysis, the projection that we did, the study that we did, so we come up with some sort of policy recommendation for industrial sectors. We try to adopt, we suggest to adopt ambitious efficiency measures and also emission standard. We suggest also to adopt renewable energy such as potential on the hydrogen, biomass, wind and solar. Yeah, of course, we maintaining the whole potential coming from the local or indigenous power, energy supply. And also, if we talk about transportation sectors, which we suggest to adopt stronger demand and supply side policies for both biofuels, electric vehicles, as well as hydrogen. So we try to see in the future in Southeast Asia that there will be a biofuel type of car, electric vehicles type of car, as well as hydrogen type of car. So these three combination is quite interesting changes of culture when we know that currently we only have two options, which is gasoline and also diesel engine. So in the future, we're going to really not much changing the culture of the end users if we looking at on the hydrogens as well as biofuels. But if we looking at on the electrical vehicles, we really need to change the whole structures of the of how we utilize this transportation sector by improving the infrastructure, having additional infrastructure on the fast charging and so on and so on. So that will be the differences of this in we looking at on the transportation sectors in the future. And we also suggest to keep pursuing the vehicle efficiency target, strengthening vehicle emission and fuel quality standards, and also invest in public transit and non-motorized transport to reduce the need for driving in order to reduce the side emission in the big cities. On the residential and commercial, stronger energy efficiency requirements for buildings, enhanced building codes and efficiency standard preferences is important. And we're looking at the power generation investment to facilitate deployment of RE, particularly solar PV, grid improvement, storage, market mechanism, demand side management, and strengthen emission standard for non-renewable power plant is also important. So we're looking at also the source of the power generation, looking at the potential of the in the region that have a various type of potential. So looking at on those perspective, we cannot have one solution for all. So perhaps each country having the different type of source of the power generation. Indonesia may have relying on the, for example, geothermal and also hydro. Laos also hydro. Malaysia perhaps biomass co-firing and also the hydropower. And some other countries perhaps geothermal, for example, like the Philippines, and solar and wind in Vietnam and so on. So those indigenous primary supply can be really an alternative in the region for each member state to looking at the potential of energy mix, which is I believe the more diverse energy supply, the more secure will be the energy in each country and of course in the regional level. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I think back to you, Dr. Atikom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Uttama. Thank you. It's quite interesting to hear about the demand of the ASEAN itself, and it's also good to know that there's a lot of investment coming this way. If I'm not wrong, I see the number of 500 billion to 1,000 billion US dollars up to 2040, and quite a number of employment is forecast in this in its years. That's good. That's very interesting. And Dr. Uttama, please stay with us until the end. I'm sure there will be questions for you. Okay, thank you. And then let me turn to the our next speaker, Mr. James Higgins. Quite a number of Mr. Higgins holds a bachelor degree in business and finance from Manchester Metropolitan University. I'm sure there will be. Sorry, let me turn on my video. Okay. And then let me. Mr. Higgins joined Solar Edge in 2015 as a general manager of China and Southeast Asia, and is responsible for all business activities in this region. Prior to joining Solar Edge, Mr. Higgins was a general manager and vice president of operations for Tyco Energy Inc., responsible for global operations and business activities in China. As a general manager. Prior to that, he spent 12 years at MKS Instruments, a leading global suppliers of instruments, subsystems, and process control solutions, where he held various senior operations and management positions. But today, unfortunately, Mr. James Higgins cannot be with us. But anyway, he sent us his presentation in video, and let's enjoy his video together. Suppliers of instruments, subsystems, and process control solutions.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me today. It's my pleasure to present to you during Asian Sustainable Energy Week. And today I'd like to talk to you a little about reducing the potential risks and how to make PV systems safer. Firstly, a brief introduction about myself. My name is James Higgins, and I'm the General Manager for China and Southeast Asia for Solar Edge Technologies. Quick review of Solar Edge in numbers. Today, Solar Edge is the leading inverter company in the world. We have close to 26 gigawatts of systems shipped worldwide, which equates to just under 3 million inverters and 74 million power optimizers. That equates to over 2 million systems currently monitored by the Solar Edge monitoring solution around the world today. We have presence in over 29 countries, and we have a workforce in excess of 3,600 people on a global basis. We have probably one of the most comprehensive global reaches of any converter company in the world today. We have over 41,000 installers and EPC companies fully trained and certified to work with Solar Edge solutions. We have presence in over 29 countries, and each one of those countries doubles up as a regional service center. We have systems installed in over 133 different countries around the world of every kind of environmental condition you can possibly imagine. From an R&D and manufacturing perspective, we have R&D facilities in our headquarters in Israel, in Bulgaria, in California, Korea, and Italy. And we have manufacturing facilities in China and Vietnam, Hungary, Korea, and Israel. As I mentioned previously, Solar Edge today is the leading inverter company in the world. This data is presented by IHS, an independent market research company. And really what we're trying to show here is the rapid growth that Solar Edge has seen, because people have seen the increased value that the Solar Edge solution can offer. So let's talk a little bit about PV safety risks. So under normal circumstances, PV systems are generally safe and pose no hazard whatsoever or danger to people and property. However, it's important to understand, as long as the sun is shining on the PV modules, The PV cables and wires are energized with high DC voltages. PV modules typically have an output somewhere in the region of 30 to 60 volts DC, depending on the module specification. And when connected in a string, of course, the voltages are simply added together as one more module is added. And voltages on a string level can easily reach 600 volts or even 1,500 volts. Of course, those levels, it's potentially dangerous to installers and commissioning engineers during system installation. It's potentially hazardous to maintenance personnel during operation and maintenance, and also to first responders during any potential emergency event where they may need to access the rooftop. Shutting down the inverter or disconnecting the DC cables simply terminates current flow, but in actual fact, it further increases the DC voltage on the DC lines. The modules move from what we call VMPP to VOC, and that creates higher voltage and even higher electrocution risks within the PV system. The other danger or hazard that exists within PV systems are electric arcs. Electric arc is simply a high energy discharge from current passing through what's essentially normally an air gap. PV system cables or connectors, when improperly connected or damaged, and they can be damaged for a variety of reasons, the electric current may pass through the air, causing an electric arc. Now, arcing can do a number of things. Firstly, an arc can electrify an installation. It can cause the mounting structure of the PV system to become electrified, creating a shock hazard, or indeed the potential for fires. Arcs are also the source of heat, quite significantly, which can cause fires and pose electrocution risks to those working near them. Now, the arc risk, while still low, grows over time. System components within a PV system, particularly cables and connectors, age over time and they degrade. And as they degrade, the risk for arcs increases. Now, a number of solutions have been tried to address some of these risks. The first one that most people will be familiar with is the installation of automatic DC breakers at the inverter. Now, whilst these are effectively terminating DC voltage at the inverter, of course, they're not disconnecting at the module level. So effectively what this does is add cost, but it does nothing to mitigate the risk associated with high DC voltage on the DC cables coming from the modules. A number of solutions have already also been tried for first responders when they're attending an incident to try and stop the modules from producing, stop module current. They cover the front face of the module, so no sunlight can enter. Foam spray has been tried, and it's proven to be ineffective as the foam either evaporates or simply slides off the module before the fire is extinguished, therefore providing no benefit whatsoever. Or an alternative method is to cover the modules with an opaque material. This is essentially not practical because somebody has to go up and access the roof to put the material on the modules in the first place, thus exposing them to potential risks. So this is simply not a practical solution. So what is the SolarEdge safety solution to address these hazards and risks? SolarEdge has essentially been the market leader in the US for some considerable time, and we've followed all of the National Electrical Code requirements for safety regulations since the early days of their inception. In fact, the SolarEdge solution, from the day it was conceived, has been built with safety in mind. And as such, we consider ourselves pioneers of PV safety in PV solutions that go beyond existing industry safety requirements. And our goal is simply to minimize fire and electrification risks for all of our customers, be they residential, commercial, or indeed increasingly ground mount installed customers. from the day it was conceived. SolarEdge today is the industry leader in safety. We incorporate safety technology across multiple platforms, meeting the most enhanced and advanced international standards today. And we do that through three key features combined with our monitoring solution that brings them all together in terms of solutions. So firstly, we have what we call Safe DC. This functionality ensures that the system's DC voltage is reduced to a safe level whenever the system is shut down. And that shutdown can be a switch off, a manual switch off. It can be an automatic switch off if the inverter trips because of a grid condition. Or importantly, it's safe during installation and commissioning because the inverter has not been switched on. So until the system is energized, the system is at safe DC level. We also have rapid shutdown component capability built into the SolarEdge solution. So this is a mandated requirement today, of course, in many regions, and you'll hear later from my colleague about the forthcoming rapid shutdown requirements for the Thai market. But this capability allows the fast discharge of conductors to a safe voltage within 30 seconds, which is the normal mandated regulation requirement. In addition, we have arc fault interruption. This enables the ability to not just detect, but also to terminate potential arc events through an inverter shutdown. So we make the system safe through a shutdown, and then it can be investigated in terms of the root cause of the arc fault issue. And these are all brought together under our module level monitoring solution. So this system capability enables us to send automatic notifications on system issues, thus preventing potential safety risks from occurring in the first place by real-time alerts, real-time monitoring, and real-time notifications of potential hazards. For a limited time, SolarEdge, because of the upcoming regulations in Thailand, for a limited time, we're offering our customers a free rapid shutdown device compliant solution as an introductory offer as this regulation comes forward, so you can be ahead of the regulation and order your safe systems today. My colleague will tell you more about this. The next session from SolarEdge will go into much more detail in terms of how compliance with the Thailand rapid shutdown regulations is enabled with the use of the SolarEdge rapid shutdown solution. So my colleague, Mr. Waruj Takaswana, will present a much more detailed review of both the regulation and the way that SolarEdge complies with that regulation. So I'm sure he'll be very happy to answer any and all of your questions should they arise. And I'm sure that session will be very informative and value for everybody. So for now, I'd like to thank you for your kind attention and wish you a wonderful Asian Sustainable Energy Week. And thank you. Bye-bye. A much more detailed review of both the regulation and the way that SolarEdge complies with that regulation.
Right. So that concludes all the topics and speaker for today. Altogether, we have 5 topics. And now we're gonna get into the question and answer session. And then I will turn microphone to Peter Lundberg. Peter.
Thank you, Dr. Atacom. And thank you all the speakers for your great presentations. So I think now we'll continue with the Q&A session. We are a bit over time, but we will still try to do 30 minutes or so for Q&A. And we have some questions from the audience. I think I will advise all the speakers maybe to turn on your camera. Thank you very much. So I think I will start with Mr. Ueda, our first speaker today. And I want to combine two questions, actually. I mean, you mentioned both, let's say, there are technical issues and non-technical issues. So which of them would be more critical in order to enhance the cross-border electricity exchange and increase the development? And I would say the follow-up or the second part of the question is how much enthusiasm or how are the mood for member states in the ASEAN region towards this project at the moment?
Okay, thank you for your question. So regarding the first question, so I think both technical and non-technical issues is very important. As I mentioned in my presentation, ASEAN member states already have some existing efforts of power exchange. However, multilateral power trade is still only a pilot project of LTMS PIP. Both technical and non-technical issue is very important. So regarding the harmonizing technical standards and grid code, GMS has been conducted many discussions for many years. And also HAPUA have been implemented some ASEAN interconnection master plan studies over 10 years. And they have a plan to construct many cross-border interconnections. So I think technical standard regarding the technical standards, grid code standard, and also the lack of strong interconnection networks are not so critical. But so in terms of my background, power system operation and power system analysis, I think the data requirement, quality and confidentiality is very critical for realizing a multilateral power trade. Our study also suggested so for example, non-disclosure agreement will be needed for realizing multilateral power trade. Then, on the other hand, for non-technical issues, I think regulatory and commercial issues and governmental policy and location of the APG institution's office and ASEAN member states fees issues are critical for multilateral power trade. So regulatory and commercial issues, especially the lack of clear defined trading rules, and there is no standardized approach to regional power trade. And for regarding the location of the APG institutions, I think this issue is a sensitive issue because, for example, the office is located in Thailand or currently ASEC. ASEC is located in Jakarta, so it is better. I'm not sure which country is better to new institution. And also the for example, GDP or financial level is different from country to country in ASEAN member states. So ASEAN member states fees issues also, I think it is critical for multilateral power trade. Then regarding the next question, I think this question is interesting. This is just my opinion. I feel ACMEC countries such as Thailand, Laos, Myanmar has, I think, a strong enthusiasm for multilateral power trade. Recently, power demand in Thailand have been saturated. And as I mentioned, Laos has large potential of hydropower, especially in rainy season. If multilateral power trade will be realized, Laos can export a large amount of power to Myanmar or Malaysia or so on through Thailand, and Thailand can receive the wheeling charge fee. So this is a very big benefits. So maybe they have a strong enthusiasm for multilateral power trade. And on the other hand, for example, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Borneo Island, they don't have a strong issue. I think they don't have a strong enthusiasm because their cross-border interconnections maybe will be limited, and power trade also maybe will be limited. So around the ASEW countries, they have, I think they have strong enthusiasm. This is my answer.
Thank you very much. And maybe you can give some quick remarks also in how much do you think the COVID-19 situation has affected the development of cross-border electricity exchange? I mean, first, it's a reduction of energy consumption, and now when we recover from COVID, there is a steep increase. So do you think this will affect this development in the region?
Yeah, so power demand has slowed down under COVID-19 in almost countries. Then, as you said, maybe reserve margins increase. But I think this situation would not be a barrier to the cross-border power exchange scheme. So as this is an example case. So Thailand formulated Power Development Plan 2018 in 2018. However, after that, Thailand revised the power demand forecast, and then also they revised Power Development Plan 2018. And so if low power demand situation will continue, so maybe they can revise the power development plan as needed. And if power generation is too much to meet power demand, it is better to move retirement of all the power station ahead of schedule. Then after the ASEAN Power Grid will be realized, ASEAN member states will be possible to formulate power development plan at the regional level. At that time, even if low demand situation occurs like under COVID-19 situation, it is considered that the necessary reserve margin should be secured at the regional level, and they can formulate appropriate power development plan. Therefore, I think this COVID-19 situation would not be a barrier to the cross-border power exchange.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Reda, for your reply. So I want to move to Ms. Maria from ABB. Are you with us?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. So what energy sectors do you see the biggest potential for applying energy efficient technology that you provide? And what are the key areas that ABB is focusing on?
Well, basically talking about energy sectors, as said, we are covering very different industries, but I would say that currently it really makes sense to look at building sector, simply because buildings consume over 30% of global energy. And then, of course, if you start optimizing buildings and HVAC systems in particular, because as said, those systems can actually consume about 50% of energy used by an average building. So if we start investing in building energy systems, in HVAC systems, we are able to cut the energy use in the building sector significantly. And I would probably look at buildings, but then of course talking about different manufacturing or areas. So this is also something to take a look at, because if I recall correctly, industry consumes also over 30% of energy worldwide. And this is, again, another segment to focus on. And this is something what attracts a lot of attention from ABB side. Yes.
Thank you very much. And we're also approaching, COP26 in Glasgow, and it's pretty clear that the world is facing pretty extreme challenges to live up to the Paris Agreement. And so can you elaborate how ABB is working with sustainability and how you incorporate that in your solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about this COP26, basically it's a climate change conference, and of course it embraces earlier set up Kyoto Protocol and Paris agreements, and all this is about reducing CO2 emissions by member countries. And I would say that, for example, European initiative, just as an example, this eco-design directives. So they set minimum energy efficiency levels for different kinds of equipment. And I just presented that for motors, these energy efficiency requirements have been increased again. And what we do from ABB side, from manufacturer side, we optimize the energy efficiency of our products and the motors and drives in particular. And we are always trying to exceed the minimum energy efficiency levels set in local and global standards. And currently, for example, when it comes to motors, we offer IE5, so the highest energy efficiency class, which means lower losses in our equipment and bigger energy savings for our customers.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Maria, for that. So I want to move to Dr. Tana.
Yes.
We have got some question from the audience that they would like to know what policy Thailand have about using hydrogen. And so basically, maybe you can elaborate how you think green hydrogen is going to be used in Thailand in the future, and maybe what sectors would be fitting for the Thai energy market.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, for Thailand, the Energy Policy and Planning Officer, what we call it shortly EPPO, is developing the policy for the hydrogen use. And they even do the study of the feasibility of the hydrogen in Thailand. The result already come out, and they say that most the hydrogen will be used in the electrical sector, power sector, and also the industry. So the next thing that they're going to do is to, from 2020 to 2030, they're going to support like a demonstration project in Thailand. And the next thing is they are going to do about three things. The first thing is to build infrastructure to produce the hydrogen, and also the transportation of hydrogen, and also the use of the hydrogen. And the second thing is to make up the policy that can support the use of the hydrogen in Thailand, including the regulation, law, and safety issue that involved in the hydrogen technology. And the third one, I believe they want to do something to increase the potential of the use of the hydrogen in Thailand. So this is a key main thing that the Apple is developing right now. And for Hydrogen Thailand, which is another the Hydrogen Thailand group that I mentioned before, we will work closely with the Apple and probably the EDE in terms of the hydrogen policy and things that will come out. So definitely will be the thing that government will support the use of hydrogen in Thailand. And for clean hydrogen, I must say this: the green hydrogen, depending on how much renewable energy that has in Thailand. So at this time, the increasing of the renewable energy will be increased, but the use of the green hydrogen in the future, I believe it will be in the term of the in the power sector first, maybe because of the Apple say from the study from the Apple, it say that to reduce the carbon emission, we probably first mix the hydrogen into the gas pipeline, something like that, sent to the power plant. And if we can get the green hydrogen, it should go to that direction first to reduce the carbon emission will be the target.
Thank you. Yeah, so you mentioned this already. That's what the second question we got here is, being a nation that utilizes natural gas today in a large extent. So you think how much of the existing gas infrastructure do you think can be used with little modification to store or distribute hydrogen?
I guess for this question, I have to say that for the existing infrastructure for the gas pipeline, we need to check the compatibility to transport the hydrogen to the natural gas pipeline first, because some portion of natural gas pipeline we need to check if it's compatible to transport the hydrogen or not. So it needs some work to do on this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Tana.
Yeah.
So I want to turn to Dr. Pongpan. You mentioned 7 highlighted district cooling projects in Thailand and another 6 potential projects or areas or categories suitable to develop district cooling projects in Thailand. So what potential do you see for district cooling in Thailand, and how does the Ministry of Energy work to promote district cooling in the country?
Thank you, Peter. I think, as I mentioned in my PowerPoint, there are multiple benefits for district cooling. So I think I can point out that 3 benefits, three key benefits for district cooling. One is safe energies, because district cooling can operate up to 50% more efficient due to load sharing, allow efficient use of the systems. I think compared with the separate system, cooling system. The second is the cost saving in terms of you can avoid time of high tariff of electricity, where you can have a storage system where you can generate a chill water at a low electricity tariff, for example. And also the last one is a safe environment, and because it's reduced the greenhouse gas emissions. So I think 3 key benefits: safe energy, safe cost, and safe environment. And for the Ministry of Energy, we are promote the energy efficiencies in all aspects. We see that energy efficiency in district cooling is one of the potential where it can save, can have this, because the system is more efficient. So in terms of we think that in the near future we could have some kind of standard or regulations that support the district cooling. Apart from the Ministry of Energy, there are a number of support. For example, as a smart city development in Thailand, the district cooling is one of the criteria in the energy portions, and also the incentive. For example, the building the district cooling in Thailand can have a benefit from the BOI. Yeah, I think that's the answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And maybe could you elaborate a little bit on the potential areas that would be suitable for district cooling system? You mentioned a little bit about, for example, the East Economic Corridor, I think, in Thailand. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, thank you. I think as from the side reference that I show you in my presentation, nearly all of them are the newly developed complex or mixed-use system, because they can design because the district cooling has a piping system in there, so they can design in the first place. I think in order to use district cooling system and use it efficiently and cost effectively, I think there are some fundamental requirements. For example, there is has an economy of scale. They have a mixture of load where load can share among different type of load. For example, office, hospital, hotel, residential, share load at a different time of the day or at the different capacity. So that in the way that in the management of the cooling of the district cooling system is appropriate. I think the area where it can promote the district cooling is like new developed area, for example, a mixed use in metropolitan area or like Makassar, which is in the plan, and also the EEC, Eastern Economic Corridor, where they will we are promoting at the moment. I think this area could be a potential area for district cooling.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Pungpan. So next I want to turn to Dr. Nuki. And the first question is related to the COVID-19 pandemic, because it caused a lot of reduced demand of the electricity among the ASEAN member states. So when do you think the electricity demand will be back to a normal state?
Yes, thank you, Peter. I think this COVID-19 becoming the major issues in regard with the energy supply and demand. Indeed, it is very affecting on this energy demand in the region. But luckily, it only lasts a couple of quarters in 2020. And recently, it's already bounced back on the normal level, especially on these industrial sectors and also power sectors. So only a very small fraction in the transportation sector that is not really going back to normal. But looking at those what you call it, the good news on this energy demand, I think there will be no big issues in the next couple of months. Also looking at the sloping down of these cases around the globe, I think that will be also not be issues anymore. But the current issues is not on the demand side, but the supply chains on the supply side. How we really try to recover on the losing of the demand when the supply is not ready to provide such which is returned back as much. So we're looking at the cases in Europe, in China, India, as well as United States. More or less is regarding with the supply chains of the energy supply perspective, not the energy, but where the demand is already back into normal, and then the supply is not really keeping up the increasing of the demand. That becoming problem because of this energy landscape currently in the world is really heavily reliant on the supply chain, global supply chains. And when the people is not ready to provide services in those of those of fossil fuel, for example, And then when the part of the countries, part of the region is heavily relying on the natural gas, and then the northern hemispheres now going into the winter season, and the increasing of demand is back to the normal. Then the infrastructure is, especially on the supply chain, is not ready. Then it becoming a problem.
Thank you for that, Dr. Nuki. So and then I want to ask you another question we got is that many ASEAN member states, they have declared the intention to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and increase the use of renewable energy for the generation of electricity, but they might have not be ready, and they need some technical assistance and investment help. So what kind of support can they get from the ASEAN Center of Energy in terms of this?
You mean the perspective from ASEAN Center for Energy? Yeah, if we're looking at the overall perspective of the region, how we need to improve the share of the RE and also another energy alternative, not only looking at the RE, then we need to really looking at, as I mentioned in the slide, that a huge investment is needed. In the baseline itself, we need around $580 billion, which is 60 to 90% is for the renewable energy, which is basically energy transition, not the traditional energy supply. So meaning that investment is one of the big part to really go ahead on shifting from the conventional energy economics to the renewable energy or energy alternative driven economics. So those are the major issues that currently we are facing. Regarding with the capacity building, technical assistance, I don't think that's a big issue, because technology is something that we can pursue as not as quick as if we looking at a funding, for example, or investment, for example. Required bigger stakeholders if we talk about the investment commitment amongst political commitments, economic projection, having more variables if we in comparison with the technology perspective or even the what you call it, the capacity buildings, Peter.
Okay, thank you very much. One question here, another question from the audience is that as we understand that the wish to reduce reliance on fossil fuels are non-binding among ASEAN member states. Yeah. How is the discussion to make these changes binding in the region? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, Peter, thank you. It's very interesting question and very important question. Looking at the regional perspective and also ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation, for example, as a backbone energy activities in the region, those are mainly the aspirational target. RE target 33% in 2025, installed power capacity 35% in 2035, energy intensity reduction, and so on, so on. Those are aspirational target, which is non-binding, right, for each member state. But if we have a certain benchmark, sort of agreements among member states, then each member state can really looking at their position towards others, and then if one country can showing quite good example, the other countries will be easily to follow suit. For example, the increasing of the RE in Vietnam last year, drastically increasing more than 10 gigawatt in the last 1-2 years. It is very impressive, and creating other countries to looking at what happened in Vietnam, what policy that they did. Is there any technical challenges? Is there any issues in the grid stability, and so on, so on? What is the policy that they did? How long it takes, and so on, so on. So those kind of studies being looking at, and fortunately our center has already published recently on those particular issues on the policies driven RE in Vietnam, and member states are looking at it. So that's one of the example, Peter. I do agree with the question that non-binding, yeah, and it is rather difficult to make it as a binding agreement. If it is, it will be very strong commitment politically as well as technically in the member state. But looking at the ASEAN Power Grid that we have right now, I think is one of the good example. The APG is going forward from the LTM a few years back, and then now connected with the this year agree of Singapore being supplied by the Lao around 100 megawatt, and it will also continues to extend to other countries as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nuki, for that. We're running out of time, but I have one question here another question from the audience to Dr. Tana, and I think you already answered it in chat, but maybe you would like to address it here as well. So there's a question, what is the color of hydrogen, if it's a brown, blue, or green, if hydrogen is produced by waste plastic from MSW?
Yes, thank you very much. From waste plastic, it's still considered as a brown hydrogen, because when you produce the hydrogen from waste plastic, you have to go through the gasification process. So that gasification process still release the carbon dioxide. So we categorize as a brown hydrogen. But if you use the biomass, for example, biomass, it will pass through the gasification, but will consider as a green hydrogen, not the brown hydrogen. So my answer is consider is a brown hydrogen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tana. I think we have to conclude the Q&A session, and thank you very much to you, all the speakers here for great presentation, but also a good discussion here. So with that, I want to give the word back to Dr. Atikom for some final remarks.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Yep, toward the closure of the session, I would like to express my appreciation to all speakers, Mr. Keisuke, Ueda, Maria Fedoro Visheva, Dr. Thanasorn Chamni, Dr. Pongpan Walasayan, Dr. Nuki Uttama, and Mr. James Higgins, including Peter Lundberg, supporting team, and the audience who made this session successful. And I hope the information from the speakers is useful to all the audience. Again, thank you to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye. ขอบคุณครับ
Bye bye. ขอบคุณครับ
บ๊ายบาย สวัสดีครับ
Dr. Uttama, if you come to Thailand, let me know.
I will.
Very much to all the
That's
speakers
thank
and
you for
moderators for sharing knowledge and your expertise. And of course, also thank you to the audience for your participation. Before we end the session today, I would like to invite everyone to visit the virtual marketplace. This will be where our exhibitors, including some of the world's leading brands, showcase their latest technologies, innovations, solutions, and services in renewable energy, energy efficiency, environmental protection, electric vehicles, and smart pumps and valves. Only these 3 days, 14 to 16 of October, that you will be able to contact the exhibitor by using chat and call function that we provided, or even set the meeting with them. Thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you next year during 14 to 16 of September 2022 at the new venue, Queen Sirikit National Convention Center, Bangkok, Thailand. Please stay safe and healthy, everyone. Goodbye. ขอบคุณค่ะ
จุบันเนี่ยขนาดโรงงานที่เราทำเรียกว่า Pilot Plant เนี่ยมีกำลังผลิตประมาณ30เมกะวัตต์อาวแล้วก็สามารถสเกลอัพขึ้นไปถึงระดับ100เมกะวัตต์อาวนะครับเรามีความมั่นใจครับว่าถ้าตลาดมันพัฒนาขึ้นไปตามเทคโนโลยีที่มีเนี่ยเราจะสามารถเข้าถึงการผลิตไม่ว่าจะเป็น30เมกะวัตต์ในปัจจุบัน100เมกะวัตต์และรวมไปถึงกิกะวัตต์อาวที่เรากำลังจะมาถึงครับเราพร้อมแล้วที่จะนำ Product นี้ไปสู่มือของลูกค้าที่จะนำประยุกต์แบตเตอรี่ของเราไปใช้งานในโลกพลังงานแห่งอนาคตที่เราเชื่อมั่น
Installing and maintaining a PV system is generally a safe, secure process. But like the cars we drive, some PV systems have more safety features than others. To protect your technicians and installers, SolarEdge employs some of the world's strictest safety standards. Our integrated Safe DC technology automatically de-energizes DC cables to a touch-safe 1 volt whenever the inverter is turned off. This complies with the strictest international standards protecting PV professionals, firefighters, and assets. Inverter-embedded arc detection, installed in hundreds of thousands of monitored systems all over the world, accurately identifies specified arcs and shuts down the inverter to prevent fires. Our optional auto reconnect feature allows for continued safe production until the issue is resolved. And safety meets convenience with our module-level monitoring and remote troubleshooting, which eliminate diagnostic work at dangerous heights. Best of all, SolarEdge safety is built into the system. No additional components or installation is required. Safe DC, arc prevention, module-level monitoring, and secure battery operation. That's how SolarEdge protects your team and your customers' investment.
We are seeing growing momentum around the world among governments, private business, and individuals towards carbon neutrality and net zero. We all want to leave a cleaner planet for our future generations, and hence we must act now. SCG is strongly committed towards sustainability. Our EV solution platform will drive and accelerate the speedier conversion towards smart and clean mobility.
EV Solution Platform is a one-stop service under the Smart Clean Mobility concept that allows partners to run their business worry-free at an affordable cost. The platform covers 3 areas: focusing on finished product with battery safety as the priority. Local production, for example, EV bus semi-knockdown unit assembly line and electric vehicle conversion are manufactured domestically. Maintenance and spare parts service. Charging station. Logistics operation service. And IT platform development for a seamless connection between service and solution. making users more convenient and confident when transitioning into electric vehicles. Customized business models from rental service, sales package, to logistics provider service for products or employees, with vehicle incident insurance type 1 and battery product liability insurance. Our one-stop service creates an EV ecosystem that offers worry-free solutions at an affordable cost for our partners. It is also environmentally friendly as electric vehicles emit less carbon dioxide and PM 2.5, resulting in a better quality of life.
I would like to invite all our partners and stakeholders to join us in this exciting journey. We're passionate towards delivering smart, clean mobility to our customers. We will do this, we will make this happen by engaging with all of you in a spirit of trust. And most importantly, we will grow together.
SCG International, trusted international business partner.
Electricity never ceases to flow. Electricity is everywhere. Providing reliable electrical energy for our country is the main mission of the Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand, or EGAT. No matter how high or how deep we have to go, EGAT will bring electricity for the sake of the country and the Thai people. Under the vision, Innovate Power Solutions for a Better Life, EGAT generates electricity with reasonable fuel management. This creates a balance between stability, price, and environmental care. Additionally, EGAT purchases electricity from independent power producers, small power producers, and from neighbouring countries. Electricity is transmitted via the EGAT power transmission grid that stretches across the country to electricity distributors to meet the demand of each sector. EGAT also sells electricity to neighbouring countries to create power system stability for the region. EGAT aims to increase the organisation's capability through research and innovative development of electricity generation. To support future needs, electricity generation is conducted with a hybrid system. In addition, the Battery Energy Storage System, or BESS, that supports grid modernisation also allows EGAT to access the international renewable energy market. The National Control Centre, or NCC, and the Renewable Energy Control Centre help manage renewable energy effectively,
Security of the electricity system is prioritized for both the present and future needs of renewable energy, in accordance with the government's policy and power development plan. EGAT uses its organizational assets to conduct electrical industry businesses. And undertakes investments that help strengthen the power system. EGAT Innovation Holding Company Limited was established to efficiently conduct business relating to electrical innovation. EGAT helps create a high-quality society by sharing knowledge with the community. For a sustainable community. Walks side by side with the Thai people. And protects the environment with consciousness and technology. EGAT operates under good governance principles and core values. The night sky is charming, yet it emphasizes the importance of electricity. EGAT promises that Thailand's electricity system will always be secure, stable, and reliable. EGAT has driven itself into a century of innovation, generating sustainable and eco-friendly electricity. EGAT, power for Thai happiness.
Electricity does not only refer to light from a bulb, but it also implies to hope, happiness, and good quality of life, brightening up all hearts of customers. Therefore, the emerging of electricity generation in Thailand has evidently changed the people's lifestyles. In 1884 to 1960, initial stage of power supply in Thailand and PEA establishment. During the reign of King Chulalongkorn, King Rama V, electricity was introduced to Thailand in 1884 by Field Marshal Japhraya Surasak Montri Cherm Sang Chuto when holding the title of Jamun Waiwaranat. Provincial Electricity Affairs was inaugurated after the establishment of Electricity Section under Public Health Department, the Ministry of Interior. A power plant was later constructed in Nakhon Pathom municipality and started its operation in 1930, followed by the establishment of Provincial Electricity Organization. The power supply was expanded to provincial areas and it stimulated local development. More and more power plants were constructed in districts and provinces. Recognizing the necessity of electricity expansion and good governance, the government established Provincial Electricity Authority, PEA, on 28 September 1960. From 1960 to 1980, construction of power plants in provincial areas. At first, PEA's headquarters office was initially located on Rama 6 Road alongside Samsen Irrigation Canal and then moved to Ngam Wongwan Road in Bang Khen District, Phra Nakhon Province. The inauguration was held on 28 September 1971. Regarding the infrastructure development in Thailand, PEA had developed electricity generation systems under the National Economic and Social Development Plan 1 and 2. The generation system was an uphill mission at that time. PEA encountered considerable difficulties, including the expenses of machine installation and operation, the electrical distribution to various locations, the procurement of electric generators, the mechanic recruitment for installation, as well as the transportation of machines, electricity utility poles and electrical wires to some rural areas at which physical labor and small vehicle were necessary. The rapid growth of electricity demand became the PEA's motivation in transmitting electricity to every household in order to improve living conditions of people throughout the country. As a result, PEA formulated a master plan for power supply development in provincial areas. In responding to the increasing electricity demand, this has continuously encouraged development of electric power transmission to Thailand's remote areas. In 1981 to 1990, electricity system quality improvement to enhance business and industrial development. Power supply became the significant part of infrastructure and had an important role for the national progress in all aspects. Thus, PEA implemented the electrical distribution system to enhance the generating capability and to support electricity expansion. Diesel engine power plants were closed due to high cost but low efficiency. Electric current was instead transmitted from Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand, EGAT. As for the people living on the island, PEA laid down submarine cables for the first time in Thailand. From Khanom Electricity Substation to Got Samui, people there had enough energy to use since then. Furthermore, PEA began energy collecting from renewable resources, including hydropower and solar energy, to generate and transmit electricity to remote locations. Some energy was sent to the PEA's commercial operation to strengthen the stability of power system. Additionally, PEA employed advanced technology and efficient machinery to improve the operational system in order to offer excellent service and satisfy all customers. In 1991 to 2000, application of high technology to reach international service standard. PEA applied high technology to raise the power transmission and distribution standards. In responding to the growing demand in businesses and industrial sectors, PEA improved power supply efficiency with a better distribution system of 115 kilovolt power station. Modern technology was employed to manage electricity distribution system. Supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA, was adopted to automatically control electricity distribution. PEA was eventually able to carry out maintenance without power failure to increase efficiency of power distribution to industrial sector. In 2001 to 2010, organization development to international standard in energy business. The rapid progress of science and technology was the deciding factor to determine the direction of structure and mission development, as well as personnel potential development and the resource management for maximum efficiency. PEA built in every field of work in order to form learning society and foster persistent development of organization, getting ready for the international level with our modern technology for high efficiency of electric power distribution and our good service. The ISO 9002 guideline was also applied to the whole organization for quality assurance. In 2011 to 2020, a journey to digital utility. Regarding the concept of customer-centric services, PEA provides a positive customer experience with easy and quick service everywhere. The organization has changed some CSR business strategies to CSV, creating shared value, and operating to satisfy stakeholders' demands in order to become a sustainable business. Aiming for an excellent organization in the electric power industry, PEA improves efficiency of every working system, fulfills expectations of customers, and manages the organization according to good governance principles. Move forward with human resource digital technology and innovation. Let's create shared value to society and environment with digital technology and go on a journey to digital utility. PEA